This meeting is being recorded. Hello, everybody watching the replay because it's going to start from here.
Hi, everybody.
And now I'm going to share it on the Facebooks.
Sweet.
All right. I'm going to share it on the Facebooks. Let's talk about this. Self-expression. What you have to say. And holding trust in your voice. Does that sound good?
Ooh, sounds amazing.
Okay, good.
Sounds so good.
Okay. Preparing live stream.
Yay.
And then once it goes on my Facebooks, I also have to make sure that it goes to public because for some reason it.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that.
It's so crazy.
It's so crazy. So let me just go ahead and shuffle that. Edit audience. Public. Okay, yay, it's public. Fabulous.
Yay. Okay, let's see if I can find it.
Okay, yes, and definitely go find it. And it should be just live on my page now.
Okay.
Coffee time.
I see it. Whoop, whoop.
Okay.
All right, let's do this.
Gotta find you back on Zoom. There you are. Ooh, I should have done a big dance. I gotta get my
warm it up. Warm it up.
Yeah, because I mean, this is the warm up is key. We're talking about self-expression. Like,
yeah.
let it go. I'm kind of a little scared to really let it go because my chair is gonna break.
Let's not break the chair.
Oh, beautiful humans, beautiful people that are catching us live on the Friday. Deborah and I are here to talk, like real talk. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about how we communicate to the world, our, beautiful messages, the things that are like, oh, they're just in our soul and we came here to share them. And that's part of why we're here. And if everybody just said what they needed to say, the world would be a very different place. And
my gosh,
it helps you in your vision.
Yeah. Like all of that is so true. Like it's just spot on. There's so many people. And like, I'll include myself in that because it's taken such a long time to be comfortable voicing the things that I want to voice. Like there's a lot of uncertainty and fear surrounding saying what it is that you do. Like, it's like you hold this stuff so close to you. Yep. You hold your purpose so close to you. And it's so scary to like put it out there on the interwebs and then be potentially judged by others who say like, this is not your thing. This is not, like, that's the fear. I don't actually believe that people, I say this, but I've talked about kind of like my situation where things that I thought would never happen, that I was terrified of happening, did happen. So I know that there are people out there who would be like, could be like, you know what, I don't think this is the right fit for you.
Yeah, sure. Totally. Absolutely.
But the percentage of like, how often does that actually happen?
Yeah,
is probably like, it's really tiny. It's really tiny. Unless you're a really great manifester like me and you're really good at manifesting what you don't want to happen in lightning speed. Then it happens all the time.
But it's a teeny tiny thing. And I think at least this is what I do in my containers. I'm pretty sure you probably approach it the same way, is really to call somebody forward, like call them lovingly out, like what people are you referring to? And really that process of going, okay, now it's not this kind of blankety kind of fear, right? Where it's this like, exactly. where everybody's like, oh yeah, you totally know what I mean. But do I know what you mean? Because what do you really mean?
Right, exactly. Like, who are you talking? Yeah, I do the same thing with my clients where they're like, I want to talk about this. I feel called to talk about this, but also I don't want everybody to tell me that I shouldn't do this because blah, 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 like X, Y, and Z. And then it's like, well, who's everybody? Yeah. And then of course, like we drill it down and it's not everybody. It's literally one person that was probably having a really shitty day and projected onto you.
Yeah.
And you internalized it as proof that like, okay, I shouldn't be talking about this stuff. I should move and talk about something else, which is literally like what I did when I was told that
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to be business coaching. And it was like, oh my God, you're so right. So what am I going to do? I'm going to like pivot and get out of this so I don't experience this again.
Yeah.
Only to come back to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it's your purpose, you're gonna like, no matter how many times you pivot, no matter how many times you try and escape it,
Yeah.
it's gonna keep finding you, and you're gonna have this longing to step into it.
Yeah. And you're going to keep looking for it. So
Mm-hmm.
you're either going to look for evidence that supports you, in terms of the expansion and doing the thing and having your say and being self-expressed. And really that requires that you feel supported in a way, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, you have to love yourself, you have to support yourself, but there's like this inherent trust that the world also mirrors what I want it to be.
Yeah, exactly. There's this element of external validation. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can love myself, but no matter what, there's always going to be this like amount of external validation that I'm seeking
Yeah.
that will validate that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with wanting there's nothing wrong with anything, unless we're talking about like causing harm to other humans, like
Right.
that's a different, but in the realm of what we're talking about, there's nothing wrong with the way anybody's going about anything, right? But there are really important checkpoints and questions and kind of gateways that like you really are responsible to ask these questions, get really honest with yourself. Like if we assume that you're not saying or expressing or being out in the world in the way that you really see yourself, y'all got this movie playing in your head of like how I really want to be and like what I really aim for. So you're playing that movie, and if you're not really feeling like the movie is your life, first of all, that's okay. Second of all, what is it that you're protecting? What part of you are protecting? What part of you are you trying your very best, to keep safe? And a lot of the way that I look at self-expression is that we have an inherent desire and need to be expressed in our communication, in our sexual being, in our body, in our voice, in all parts of us, right? And I look at it like there's a reason why we're not doing the things that we really want to be doing.
Yeah.
Right? And rather than make ourselves wrong about it and judge ourselves and try to be like, oh, this part is so annoying, I'm going to cut it off.
Yes. Yep.
That doesn't work. So stop doing that. That's this ridiculous approach. I mean, I get it.
It is.
But that's not you that's not you in your authentic self. That's not
exactly
you in your divine, right?
That's you fighting your divine, like literally trying to like beat the divine out of you.
Yeah.
I had a client call last week where the person that I was talking with was like everything that, because I love human design, and so I incorporate human design when I'm looking at messaging and branding and like how you move through this world. Like let's make everything that you do right. And one of the things that came up, because she's a manifesting generator like me, is like this feeling of people perceiving you as being flaky. Like because as manifesting generators, this is what we do. We pick up things. We try them on because we're constantly in this response system with the world. So we see something, we get this bright idea, we're like, yeah, let's do this. We get the like sacral yes, we try it on. And then at some point, the sacral is going to be like, yeah, keep going, or no, this doesn't feel good. And then we step out of it. Like it's our duty to step out of it and not hang on.
Yeah.
And she's been doing this, not knowing her human design. She's been doing this her whole life. Of like trying things on, realizing this isn't the right fit and stepping out, but then everybody's saying like, you're flaky. And so she's been working so hard to not be flaky.
Yeah,
to like stick to every commitment. Even if it doesn't feel good, even if it feels like you're dragging yourself uphill to do it, she's sticking it out so that she can avoid the stigma of being flaky. And it was like, why are we avoiding this? Why not just allow ourselves to be flaky and know that this is how we do business? Like being flaky is not inherently bad for us. It's living in our design. And there's a difference between listening to our authority, our sacral gut that's telling us yes or no, and then listening to the mind that is telling us yes or no out of fear. So like we step into something and we have to know like, is our sacral still telling us this is the right thing? And our mind is now getting us all riled up with, impossibilities that could be happening. Or are we truly like turned off?
Yeah, it's like it's full of this conditioning. So you're going to kind of hold when it comes to self-expression or the beingness of you and the isness of you in the world, you're going to kind of hold these two kind of places. And this is kind of what's coming through off what you say is that we have our truth, right? Like just you said, your authority, you have the inherentness of how you get to be in the world that feels really good and true. Some people talk about intuition. I want to be connected to my higher self. You're all looking for this place. Okay. So first of all, you are that. There's nothing to find. You haven't lost it. You haven't even stepped away from it. It's been there this whole time.
It's been there the whole time.
So
it's always there.
You haven't stepped away from it. You may not have been following or heeding its call, but that doesn't mean it's still in. It's not gone anywhere. Okay. So you have that. So you're holding that. Okay. And then you're holding all of these lived experiences. Okay. Now, sometimes in parts work, we call them parts. You call them little shadows. You can call them ego. You can call them many different things. The
inner children,
my inner child. The point is that you have these parts of yourself that are orientating themselves from past conditioning, period. Period. Okay. It's something that happened to you. It's something you were told. It happens in a split second. And all of a sudden you have this core belief on this is the way the world is. Okay. Your job when it comes to expression, messaging, being a visionary, just you in this world is to discern, is this mine? Is this the inherent me? Or is this the thing that's outside of me that I've just been carrying? So you want to talk about letting go. You're letting the conditioning go, not parts of you. You're not letting, and you're not even letting parts of you die. You're letting the need to live through this conditioning go. When you let that go, you have freed up so much energy in your system. It is easier to make a decision. It's easier to organize your mind, which is easier to get down and get that writing done or however you want to.
Exactly.
Because now you have that inherent trust that as I am this is the enough piece. It's like we're talking about
good enough.
What we mean is from here. And you know what? Change the language if you need. Like flaky has a really, it doesn't have a good vibe to it. It doesn't have good, it's not honored. It's like flaky is flaky. Like nobody wants something flaky. We want something solid. So reorientate yourself to the language that you use or has been used to describe you. I used to think stubborn was like this not so good thing. My great teacher used to call me Leanna Stubborn Barnes. Fuck yeah, I am stubborn. I'm stubborn. I'm determined. Like when I have an idea and I really want it, like nothing's going to stop me. And that's what helps me through launches. That's what helps me through fucking 2021 where I was like, what? I'm still doing it. No, I'm gonna. And it's a great thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for me, it's like, yes, sometimes there are certain words that I'm like, no, I am not going to use that word because it just brings so much negative past experience that for me to try and align myself with it, it doesn't make sense. Like all it would do is drag me down. For me, flaky is like,
can you tell me? I want to know what's one of those words.
Oh, manipulative is like one of those words where I'm like, can it be used in a positive context? Or like judgy, can that be used in a positive context? Probably. I could probably align myself with like my personality. Yes. I have opinions. Yes. I will speak up if like I feel something is like inherently wrong. And also it makes me feel really terrible when somebody like puts that on me or I put it on myself because it's like a shame thing. Like everything comes back to shame. I have like a whole thing that I could talk about shame.
Totally.
And but like flaky for me is just like, yeah, it's pretty true because I picked up a lot of things and I put them back down pretty quick. Like instead of hanging on when I know this thing is not a fit. I'm dropping this. I'm dropping the toy. I'm not going to like hang on to it and try and make it work if I start to feel through my body that this is not right. And what it results is a lot of pivots. So maybe that's the word that we use is like, you're the queen of the pivot. Like you pick things up, immediately. So you pivot until you find the right path that is completely aligned for you. And if it's not aligned, you have to feel safe letting the unaligned piece go. As long as it's not your mind conditioning you to tell you that this is the wrong piece. Like it's the work. That is literally the work of like, how do you discern between a mental no and an authoritative no?
You nailed it. Okay. How do you discern between a mental no and authoritative no? And when you say authoritative, it's that same thing of like that inner knowing. It's the you piece.
Yeah, it's your intuition. It's the thing
Yeah.
that's driving you. And while I don't like heavily lean on human design, it's
Yeah.
really interesting to look at the different authorities that
Yeah.
people have because you can see it playing out. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm a sacral authority. My husband and my kids are splenic authorities, which so they get like this instant hit of like yes, no. And it
Mm,
can almost feel like a mind yes or no because it's so fast. And then you have emotional authorities who will literally like ride this wave of like peaks and lows in their emotions and they have to find like the neutral ground
I feel like
before
that's
they can
me.
act. It probably is. I probably need to run your human design to see, but
I
like
have
that's the
my
thing.
human design. I have it like on my screenshot. But
Oh my
I
gosh.
do, I know for myself, it's been a trial and error to make decisions. So part of
Mm-hmm.
expressing, part of messaging, part of everything we're talking about is really like the capacity to know your decision making process, right?
Yes, and trust it.
And trust it, right? Because that's such a big piece. And like, listen, if you're going to show up in the world and follow through with what you're here to do and how you want to be, you have to learn how to make decisions for you,
Mm-hmm. Yep,
in the way that you make them. Right? So I
exactly.
think I can't find it now. It doesn't matter, but I'm pretty sure I'm an emotional authority because I do. I have to like, I'll have a yes, but there'll be this kind of like, I'll say yes, and then I'll kind of hover back and I'll be like, okay, is it
Yes.
still a yes?
Is this still, that's totally emotional authority. Like it's like you'll get
Yeah,
the like, yes, I'm in. And then
yeah,
you'll start to like have the buyer's remorse where you drop and you're like, oh my God, no,
yeah,
no. And then you have to ride both of those out
yeah.
and figure out like, okay, is this actually a yes, or was I really hyped up by like the messaging of the other person? Was
Sure.
I like swooped in by the energy of the person? Because so
Ooh.
often we do this.
Oh
We
my
get
God, yes.
inspired by the energy of the
Mhm.
other person, and we don't actually need what they're offering, but we're just
Yeah,
so excited that they're excited, and
yeah,
their excitement excites us. And
yes,
then we're thinking, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do.
yeah,
And the reality is no, because then you'll hit that like, what am I doing? Like, why did I purchase this? I'm
yeah,
not getting anything out of this. And it's because we were swooped up by the energy, by
yeah,
the possibility that we could express the same level of energy.
yeah.
And then it's not the right fit. We didn't listen to our authority.
That's a big one on like the flip side of messaging, right? Like as the reader and
Mm-hmm.
receiver and like integrator of the message, that's a really big one. And I think I had this come the other day where I wrote this piece a while back, and it was like something around like when you pull the curtain back, like the Wizard of Oz is just a guy behind the curtain. So like
Yeah.
these are just people, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we're people, you're a person, we're out here and like, yeah, we can have a really profoundly written, well done piece of copy, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But like as you're
No.
reading it, like when a message hits you, just getting clear on like what part of me is getting, activated,
Yeah.
what part of me is
Activated.
getting
Yeah.
triggered. Like, how do I
Mm-hmm.
feel in my body, my heart, my mind? Like, how are all the places in me really responding to this? And that
Yes.
that may save you a few bucks down the road.
Yeah, I agree. And also, like, I think there's this inherent responsibility for the person that's making the copy
Yeah.
to understand how you're going to like and be intentional
Mhm.
about how you're activating people because there are so many
Yeah.
coaches, especially coaches, who are really, really good at hyping people up
Yeah.
and not understanding the power that comes with when you're able to activate people immediately.
Yeah.
So like how do you, it's almost like what I teach in my messaging stuff is like you can't just pull in the emotional people because what's going to happen is the
Yeah.
emotional buyers, the people that are swooped in by your energy, are
Mm.
never going to be the people that get the results because what happens is they're swooped up by the energy of you. They
Mm.
purchase, and then at some point they're going to crash because you can't keep up with the image of what they thought this was going to be in their brain. You're
Yeah.
going to fall short. And when that happens, they're either going to stop doing the work, they're going to stop showing up, they're going to ghost you on payments,
Yeah.
they're going to fall off and you're going to feel like crap because you call in all these people and it's like, it just doesn't mesh. And
Yeah.
so what you have to do is find the balance between activating somebody's emotions in an integrity, like an ethical and
In
an
an ethical
integrity way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also activate the logical thinking part of their brain so that they understand how this energy is going to translate for them, so that they're making, like, you're helping them make the best choice for them.
Yes.
And you're not leaving stuff out. Like that, I think is the most, it's so important to, when we're coming up with the messaging, to not just let people be hyped up by our energy, because that's such a disservice.
It's such a disservice. It's such a service to and I started writing this. I've reframed this post several times, which is like, just prepare people. Hey, when you really say yes to yourself and you invest in a container with a coach, for, by way of example, within a certain period of time, it's almost predictable. I can almost predict it down. Like I can put it on my freaking calendar. Client number, whatever, likely will start to, right? Like humans are so predictable. We're so predictable in many ways. And so it's usually within like a month and a half, roughly, where you start to really doubt. Because there's going to be a part of you triggered that's like, girl, what are we doing? This isn't working. Like something is wrong, or whatever it is, right? You're going to have a part that's like remembering to protect you and your time and your energy, and you're going to want to kind of fall away, right? Because that's what the work is supposed to do. It's supposed to shake you. It's supposed to wake you. It's supposed to trigger you.
Right. It's supposed to.
It's supposed to.
And that's why you get into these containers, is to be activated, is to face these things.
Yes, because you can't keep avoiding them. You've got these things that you do consciously or subconsciously in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in any place it can show up. And you are coming to a container or a coach to stop doing that.
Right.
And to change that pattern. So I think when we just really show people what like we lift the curtain.
Exactly.
You can see behind my veiled curtain. I will tell you some of the things, like you're gonna want to message me and be like, F you, Leanna, like you're gonna get mad at me sometimes. And I'm gonna get annoyed with you probably because I'm a human too. And I'm like, God damn, girl, just stop it. You know, like when we just say this is what it's gonna be, there is an energetic ebb and flow with all containers. Okay. It's just that you come in freaking hot and you're like, yeah, it's awesome.
And then
to know your testimonial that you may want to give your coach is going to change. Like, it'll be like, oh my God, best investment ever. Like, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to be like, what?
I'm not getting anything. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Yeah.
That's part of it. And how you deal with that, and how you process that, and how you talk yourself through that, and how you hold yourself is the work.
It is. And that's what, like, that's the key, I think, is calling in, being specific to call in the people that are ready to face that ebb and flow, and that know that it's coming and are ready to do the work. Because like here, like I have a client who's in a 4-month container, and it's like, we go through the ebb and flow literally like clockwork. Like every month we hit a high, we're feeling really good, and then we crash and we're like, let's burn this shit to the ground. I don't want to do this. I don't want to show up. I don't want to do the things. And it's like, okay, and let's work through this. And like, we just do the work. We do the work together, and it works so flawlessly.
Yes.
But it really took getting clear on, like, this is the person I want to call in. Who knows? Like, I don't expect you to be high all the time.
No,
that's not
weird.
reality. The work is done when you fall. The work is done when you start to stumble and you start to doubt. Then we get to really tap in and like work through the stuff.
When you let yourself be seen in your fall.
When you let yourself be seen.
Yeah.
But the people, like when you're just hyping people up when you're messaging and you're like, yes, I guarantee. Like I saw a post the other day, and it was a different person who does similar content that I do, where it's like, you know, one post, like post 2-3 times a week and you're going to make all your sales. And this person was like, I guarantee you're going to make $1,000 a post. I guarantee you're going to make $3,000 a post. Do this thing. If you do it, you're going to. And so people are like, oh my God, I really want to do this. And one person had the discernment to be like, do you guarantee that though? Like, what if I don't? And she was like, well, if you do the thing, it's going to work. And they were like, but what if I don't? How do you guarantee that? And I was like, that's the person that you truly want to work with. They've got a level of discernment. They're not just getting swept up by the energy.
Yeah.
Because those people that are swept up by the energy are not ready to do the work. They're not ready to face the falls. They're not ready. They're constantly looking for, let me just move out of this and chase the next high. What's the next thing that can bring me out of this without doing the work?
Yeah. The next
and that's who we don't want to work with.
Yeah, the next high, the shiny object. And
like I hit the high, I crashed. Instead of facing what's making me crash, I'm just going to leave this container, or I'm going to stop paying, or I'm going to stop responding, and I'm going to find the next shiny thing that promises to like keep me high so that I don't fall.
Yeah, because the problem was the facilitator, it was the people in the group, it was
exactly.
And you're looking for all the reasons why it didn't work outside of, how did I create this result?
How did I call this in? Yeah.
How
am I repeating this pattern consistently?
Yes. Now, that being said, like there are containers that are better fits than others. Like,
very true. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, that's
very true. Again, like that comes back to the person that's like advertising and messaging for their container, being clear about, this is what you're going to experience. This is what you're going to get working with me, so that people can use their discernment to say, okay, I think this is a really good fit. So I'm making a strong choice here. I know that this is what I want. I know that this is the person that's going to lead me through my stumbles and my falls, versus the person that is like, no, like I thought I was like, that happened to me. And I know this from personal experience, which is why I'm so passionate about it, because last year I went through, oh God, like 7 coaches. And it was like, what is wrong with me? Like, why do I keep calling in these coaches? But what happened is I'm swept up by the energy of like the magic that they're making. I'm not using my discernment to figure out, is this the right person to help me through my stuff? And then when it comes time for me to face my stuff, this person is ill-equipped to deal with the hot mess the
stuff that I really want support with, like
the stuff that I need, that I don't even like recognize that I need until it comes up. This person is not equipped to handle that. And so it's like, okay, so now I'm forced to find another person. But again, like I went through this trial and error of not using discernment and instead just using like the excitement factor. Until I finally found somebody that it was like, oh, you're the right fit. Like, you hold me accountable. You don't just tell me what I want to hear. You make me sit in my stuff and deal with it. And I need that.
And I think we know who these people are in many ways. And you know, in terms of messaging, there's like a million different tendrils to pull out. But, you know, one thing is that remembering that we have ongoing messages and we have ongoing voices that are going on, right? And, you know, one of the things that, listen, you're going to put your stuff out there, you're going to work for hours on a post and get no response.
Nothing.
And I love you all, and deal with it. You have to find a way to not take it personally. That's what self-development is all about. Because you take responsibility for like, hey, that's something going on inside of me. That's a little young part that's feeling real triggered. It's got nothing to do with the world outside of me. I fully support it. So you're going to have people that just, you know, whatever, they don't. So you have to have some kind of messaging in your own mind that's going to help you through that, right? That's going to like help you. And sometimes I've got some pretty wild parts that come in and say some pretty audacious things. One is like, girl, you're just too strong. And that scares people. And I have to have that belief some days because I know that I know there are several of you out there that have been following me for a long time and you're not stepping into the work. And I like, one part of me is like, that's cool. Like, I don't take it personally. And there's another part of me that's like, and at some point, you're going to need to invest in somebody. And ideally that's somebody that will get you to sit in your stuff.
Yes.
You're not going to move anyways until you do,
Mhm.
without making it
Exactly.
wrong, without judging yourself. Like that gets
Mhm.
you nowhere. Get
Mhm. Yeah,
curious about it.
exactly.
So I say that
And
because
that
like we have to have
curiosity,
messaging in our
like that's literally what we have to do with messaging too. And this is what I coach my clients on is like, let's stay curious because everything that we put out is literally just a test. It's
absolutely.
not permanent. We're seeing how does this resonate with our people, and the more that we can see
Yeah.
how this is resonating, and also what you were talking about of like you don't know whether like somebody's like driving with your stuff or whatever is so true. And what I try and shift my clients into or away from is the idea of visible engagement means that somebody's ready to buy from you because
Yeah.
it's
It's not.
not, they are not related at all.
No, they're not
Somebody
related.
liking your stuff and commenting on your stuff
Mhm.
has nothing to do with whether or not they feel confident in purchasing from you yet.
Yep.
And everything that we do is literally just building the person's self-confidence that
Mhm.
they are ready to step into this container. And for some people, it can take a week. For some people, it can take months. For some people, it can take years
And some
because they
people will
just,
never
they
buy.
haven't, some people will
They
never
will never
buy.
buy. And you
And
have to
that's
get
it.
over that. And you have to just
Yeah.
let that go and stop holding on to it.
Exactly. And so what I try and get my clients to focus on is the idea that invisible engagement is so much more powerful than visible engagement.
Yeah.
Because like I can tell you, like I post a lot about like how my content pulls in buyers really fast, like
Yeah.
within 48 to 72 hours. I know like clockwork, somebody's going to reach out. And the person that reaches out to me is the person that's never liked the post. I don't even know that they've seen the post.
Yes.
They don't tell people, they
Yep.
don't showcase that they're reading my stuff because instead when they feel confident enough in my messaging because I'm so clear,
Yeah.
they just hop into my DMs and they're ready to pay.
Yes.
And that's what I'm like, you have to be super comfortable with the idea of if nobody's commenting or liking my stuff,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that they're not seeing it. They absolutely are. And invisible engagement is so much more powerful
Yeah.
and does lead to sales
Yeah.
versus visible engagement, which is just like it's a fluff number.
Mhm.
Your visible engagement is fluff. It doesn't mean anything
It's
other than you're
total.
building community.
And it also sometimes is data to show you that you know how to manipulate the algorithm, you know how to
Yeah,
manipulate
exactly. Like
the
it's all an
playground to which you're
external
playing.
thing.
Yeah, like
Exactly. Exactly. Like it's really
totally.
good to check in to see like how much does my community resonate with my message.
Yeah.
So like if you're looking at a different types of content strategy and you want to do like engagement posts that pull your community towards you, then yes,
Yeah.
like external engagement
Yeah.
is or visible engagement is a really important metric because
Yeah.
like that's how you can check in. Does my audience actually resonate with what I'm saying?
Yes. Are they
Like
seeing
if I have an
yeah.
opinion
Yeah.
and I put something out, do they agree with me? Because the
Yeah.
people that agree are the people that I want to stick around.
Yeah.
And the people that don't agree, I want them to leave. So to make room for the other people that agree.
Yes.
So that's like the one metric that this makes the most sense. But when it comes to sales, you've got to rely on invisible engagement, which is super scary because you have no idea
It's invisible.
whether somebody likes you. You have no idea whether they see you. You
Yeah.
have no idea whether they agree with what you're saying. And
Yes.
then all of a sudden they just pop in and they're like, hey, I'm
Yes.
ready.
Which presupposes that you have a practice and a process and an understanding of trusting yourself, trusting your work.
That's what it is. Trusting that your stuff is powerful enough to create invisible engagement that you cannot see or depend on to
Yep.
validate you.
And not even trusting your stuff. Like, yes, but first trusting you.
Yeah.
Like, I am a powerful creator. I am here
Mhm.
for purpose. Like, all my
Yep.
decisions lead to good outcomes. And even with it, when they don't, I handle it. Like, you got to,
Yep.
because most of the time we subconsciously hold ourselves back because we have these beliefs that are like, I'm not capable, or like, it's not going to work for me,
Yeah.
or like, what if it doesn't
Somebody needs
work?
to tell me. Somebody needs
Somebody
to
needs to
tell
tell me.
me.
That's my big one, is getting permission.
Hmm.
That's like kind of a sticky one for me, is like, I need somebody to tell me it's a good idea. So
Yeah.
know thyself, know thyself. There's no replacement for that.
Hmm.
No coach, no container,
No.
no shiny object will ever fix any of those like vulnerable pieces that you live your life by,
Yep.
consciously or unconsciously. So and I love practical kind of tips and offers. I'd love to just offer
Mhm.
a couple here. Maybe we could riff some off of like best practices
Yeah.
with messaging. One thing that I mean, there's multiple ways that you can post and content strategies. There's like a million of those, and there's millions
Yeah.
different types of content pieces. So, but one of the things is like, what do you like to read? What posts do you like?
Exactly.
And why do you like them? Like, what is it
Mhm.
about that post that draws you in? Is it the language? Is it the words? Is it the person? Is it
Mhm.
the way they show up, and all different, and name it,
Yes.
and don't
Mhm.
replicate it, because that's not necessarily the way through. You can't replicate it, but you can
Right.
appreciate, like, here's what I like in a post. Get to know what you like
Mhm.
and why.
Yeah. Well, and that you bring up a really good point, because what I find is like our people love to consume content in the same ways that we consume content.
Yes, they do.
And so often,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to marketing and content and all this stuff, like people will tell us this is the one way to do it. Like do Facebook stories, do IG stories,
Yeah.
go live twice a week, or like only do written posts or whatever. The medium, the vehicle that you use to put your message out there is based on how do you like to consume content yourself?
Yeah.
How are you most comfortable? Because you're going to pull in the people
Yeah.
that like there's a person that does the same thing that I do with content, but their vehicle is video. We're saying
Mhm.
the same exact message,
Mhm.
but there's two different vehicles. And so, like, I really love written posts. This person really loves videos.
Same.
They're pulling in the people that really love videos and want to understand how to do this
Mm.
using video as the vehicle. I'm pulling in the people that want to know how to do this with written content, because
Yeah.
written content is the vehicle. And when you know that, then you can let everything else go. You
Mhm.
just focus on what is the thing that I like to consume and that I like to show up in, and then let's make that the right thing
Mhm.
and continue to use it, and let everything else that tells you like you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to show up here, that's all irrelevant. Start with where you consume content and know that your people will
Yeah.
match you.
Yes.
Like they are an energetic match to the same way that you like to show up.
Again, going back to self-trust, that how you
Mm-hmm.
like to do it, other people like to do it, how you want to go about in the world is the way for you. And again,
Exactly.
discerning between what's my here and what's
Yes.
here. And
Mm-hmm.
here is like all the different ways we were conditioned, and even
Yeah,
in
like,
the world
oh, if
right
I
now.
don't show up. Yeah, like
Yes.
there's a whole lot of visibility wounding
Yes.
that people go through, and even like self-expression wounding. I've been
Yeah.
doing some research on like 6 core wounds
Hmm.
that keep us from being able to self-express
Yeah.
and like online. And it's super interesting stuff, but it's like knowing what your wound is,
Hmm.
and not necessarily like, yes, there is some deep work that can go into like uprooting this belief,
Yeah.
but how can you like do the thing that doesn't trigger this? That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
let's do baby steps,
Yeah.
and let's just do a little bit without triggering that wounding to come up and tell you that this is like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
work around it for a little bit,
Just
and
for a
then
little bit, let's work around.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then let's deal with it. Like when it comes time to deal with it, let's deal with it.
Yeah.
But by then you'll have evidence
Yeah.
that you tried this thing, and you've got like, it's all like the self-trust. You're building up self-trust by giving yourself wiggle room
Yeah.
to just try things without triggering all of your negative Nelly parts.
Yeah, your parts that are just afraid, and they're
Mhm.
often really young, and they're really little, and
Yeah.
they're really afraid of being exposed. I mean, even this
Yes.
morning I was doing a call, and my daughter was outside the room, and I could hear her. I could hear her, and she's like, when she gets really in her way, she doesn't want anybody to look at her. You
Oh
can't
my
look.
gosh. My son does
Don't.
that too.
Yeah, don't look at me. Like,
Mhm.
and so our little parts are no different than my 5-year-old having her.
Exactly. It's so true.
Yeah, and so remembering that we're still acting as though we're 5
Mhm.
in many ways.
There's a part of us that is 5 years old that is running the show.
That is running the show, and it doesn't even wanna run the show.
It doesn't. It just feels like there's no choice.
It just feels like you're not listening to it, and you've been
Mhm.
putting it aside for so many years, or forgetting it over layers of trying to build new memories and experiences of getting away from that that version of it,
Yes.
but really it's just not wanting to feel the feelings. Just feel them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Let them come in, and you won't get overwhelmed, but at least relieve your system.
Yes.
So yes, so everything you said, and the other thing I'd like to add to that briefly is, um, no matter what vehicle you decide or you play around with, like whether it's lives, whether it's stories, whether it's quotes, whatever, give it time. Give yourself time to get
Yes.
good at it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
give yourself time to improve, because it's like anything else, it's a skill.
Yeah.
And, you know, master craftsmen who work with wood, like,
Mm-hmm.
they're called a master for a reason. They have put thousands of hours into this. And
Yeah.
somewhere along the line, we have lost appreciation for mastering a craft or mastering something.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and that keeps us looped, man. It keeps us looped in this not enough thing. And it's like, but how much time have you really put into it?
Right.
Honestly, like, I've been writing
Mm-hmm.
content for like 3 years now,
Mm-hmm.
19, 20, 21. Yeah. And man, my content was really bad when I first started. Like, and it's improved, but even
Yeah.
still, there's so much more room to grow.
There's always room to grow. And that's the thing. Like, I would say when you're first choosing the vehicle,
Mhm.
stick it out for 90 days.
At least.
At least 90 days. Like at least 90 days, you'll be able to see. And the purpose is not to like pigeonhole yourself into this thing, but to start getting data to see like how am I resonating? Because like stepping into sharing your message, unless you've had like a stream of clients before and you know exactly who your people are and what they want and what they need and what they need to hear,
Mhm.
everything is guessing. You're guessing. You're using an educated guess.
You're using an
And
educated guess.
that means that your content is constantly going to be tweaked, which means that at no point are
Mhm.
you going to feel solid in your content until you start to have the stream of people, and you have to give it enough time
Yeah.
to tweak your message and see how it goes, and then tweak it again and see how it goes until you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can do this.
Mhm.
It takes me less time to do this. I understand what energy to tap into to like cultivate the people that I need. But it literally takes like 90 days to get to that point where you're feeling like,
Yeah.
okay, I can continue and stick this out. If you jump ship before 90 days, you haven't given it any time. You haven't given it
Yeah.
any time to test, to
Yeah.
like run the data and see how is this resonating. And then if you like jump into another vehicle, you're starting from square one, because now
Yeah.
you're calling in a different part of your audience
Yeah.
that likes to consume this content, and you've got to build this up all over again.
And my question is, why do you want to do it that way? Why?
Why do
But,
we want
like,
to?
why do we want to make that so, like, that make so I say, I don't ask you. I'm asking for anybody that's listening and going, "Mm, yeah, I kind of do that. Like, I don't give it enough time. I'm kind of like the
Mhm.
queen of the pivot, in the sense of like, okay, burn it down, start again. Like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Sometimes totally we do that and it's all good. But if you're finding you're doing this more often than not, like, why? Why are you doing it that way? What are you getting from this? What are you protecting in
Mm-hmm.
yourself by doing it that way? Because I hear that and I'm like, that's a pattern. That's a pattern of avoidance. And
Yeah.
patterns of avoidance come for very, very different reasons for each person. But at the end of the day, it's like you're avoiding either feeling something, expressing something, knowing something about yourself, like seeing a part of yourself. There's a reason why you're
Yeah.
avoiding it. And part of that is like
Mhm.
you can cloak it in all this other stuff of like, well, my intuition was telling me this and my gut told
Yes.
me I should.
Yeah.
And I call
Mhm.
bullshit on a lot of that. Is total bullshit.
Mhm.
I listen to people and I used to think I was like such a Judge Judy and like being so mean. And I'm like,
That's the word. Remember, I
love,
told you, because that's what I would be like too.
love you all, but like, listen to yourselves. And as I
Yeah.
say this, I'm like, I know that this lives in me too. Believe me, I
Mhm.
totally get that. Um,
Mhm.
but what you're talking about, this is a pattern of avoidance.
Yeah.
And it gets you nowhere but the same pattern. I can
Exactly.
guarantee you will do the same thing
Yeah.
another 90 days from now.
And what's interesting is that people will say they're doing it because they're in control.
Yeah.
Like I'm in control. I'm making a conscious decision to jump ship and move to this other thing.
Oh,
And
yes.
the reality is you're not in control because this pattern is just playing out in the background and you
Yep.
have no idea that it's playing out. It's
Yep.
almost like if I abandon this thing
Mhm.
before I give it enough time,
Mhm.
I won't be rejected.
Or
I
I won't feel
reject it
disappointed.
instead of
Yeah.
people rejecting me. I'm
Yeah.
rejecting this.
Yes, and I won't have to
I'm
like
in control.
feel disappointment and like,
Mhm.
and that will make it more real.
Exactly.
And
Like that's usually, it's like, I'm going to jump ship here because I'm starting, like it's triggering up all these feelings of rejection and doubt and shame
yeah,
and fear. And so I'm going to leave before somebody rejects me.
yeah, because we think at the end of it, and I know this again because it lives in me, and I just had this conversation like a month
Same.
ago with a coach I was looking to work with, who I do still want to work with. And it was like, I can't handle it.
Mhm.
And one of my things I was sharing was just around that. I just don't think I can handle it.
Mhm.
I can't handle it. What you can handle, and I say this to myself, what you can handle is the same bullshit. Round and round and round we go.
Exactly.
So nobody will pull you off. Nobody's giving you a
No.
ticket. Nobody's giving you a permission slip. You
Yeah.
have to go, and we're done.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I face this with my own stuff when it comes to offers and pricing and stuff. I will go through this pattern and I have to interrupt myself
Yes.
and be like, oh, I'm doing it again. Like I'll have this really, really good offer and then I get the
Yes.
pricing and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to post about it.
Yep.
And then I post one time
Yeah.
and then I start to like, the doubt creeps in and I'm like, nobody's talking about this. This post doesn't work. All my other posts worked and they were lower price and they were this and they were that. So
I should
I'm
have
going to
lowered my
delete this
price.
because this like, nope, this isn't it. I need to change the price. So I delete the post. And then like I do this, I literally, and I
Yeah.
still do this and I'll have to. So what I've done is instead of deleting my posts, I'll archive them
Okay.
so that I can unarchive them when I feel confident enough to like put
Hmm.
it back out there. And I've like done the work when I start to feel super triggered of
Yeah.
like, okay, let's put this back. Let's not delete it. This is
Yeah.
we're sticking it out. We're
Stick
going to
it out.
trust the process.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it happens to everybody.
It does. I mean, I think it's what's important to note here is like, this is what facilitators help you with, is that they
Mhm.
kind of see you and
They see you.
they see you in that, and they're like, I'm noticing I'm seeing this. And it's a noticing. It's not saying this is
Mhm.
factually true, because the person's going to be like,
No, I'm not.
guilty, or like, what are you talking about? Like, right.
Yeah.
So, we assume all things can be true and not true at the same time.
Mhm.
So I wanted to, kind of like round this out a little bit. Any big takeaways around messaging or self-expression that feel really true for you that you want to make sure people are really getting?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway that I could probably leave is to just give yourself time to test.
Yeah.
Like whatever you put out there today
Yeah.
may not be what you put out there tomorrow. And that's okay because everything is just a test. Everything is an experiment. We're not doing anything that is permanent. And you stepping into one part of your message is not a permanent place to reside. Like it's not forever. And sometimes that's the fear of like, if I say this thing, I'm forever tied to it. No, you're not. You
Yes.
can change at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
But let's try this. Let's actually try this on and see how it feels and see how we do and look at it from not a like, if nobody likes this, it's a personal attack against me.
Yeah.
No, it's just data. Like the
It's
thing
all
that's
data.
going like if you're posting and you're not getting sales, it's not that nobody wants to join your program. This is like a core belief that I have. If you're posting and nobody's signing up for your stuff, if you're launching and nobody's signing up and you're showing up in all the places, it has nothing to do with them not wanting to be in your program.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that 85-90% of the people that are watching you want to be in your program.
Yeah.
But they don't understand how your program is going to help them. And so it is your job
Yeah.
to tweak the messaging and not take it personal, but figure out what is the piece, what's the step that I'm not including in my messaging that would make them be like, oh my God, yes, sign me up. It's
Yes.
like
Yes.
research.
It's research.
Experiment.
It's verifying. And I feel like that would be a live unto itself, is like, how do you do that? How do you tie it in so that people can really see themselves in your container and go, oh, I see how that thing is going to help me with this thing that's going on in me. And like, it's, I mean, there's a different feeling between getting in a car and not knowing when you're going to be there and where you're going.
Yeah, exactly.
But I like the car. I mean, it looks cool. I like who's driving it. Right. But I'm still not as likely to get in that car.
I don't want to buy it because
I don't want to buy the car, versus like, oh, I know this car. I get where we're going. I see how long it's going to take. I have a rough estimate of where to stop and go pee and get a snack. Like,
yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? So I second your takeaways, and I remind everybody that your self-expression, or your messaging rather, the words that you use, how you put it out there, what you say, how you say it, when you say it, why you say it, all of these pieces, they are always from you.
Yes.
They are a reflection of what's going on in you. They come from you. You are, I say this in one of my little mini teachings, is like, you're the caretaker of your words and your language, and it carries a frequency. You know, and we haven't really talked about the energy of words and the energy of language, but let me tell you, there is a real energy.
Yes.
And you are responsible. Yeah, you're responsible to really nurture that garden that you carry, that you're birthing out in the world. Give it time and don't give up.
Yeah.
Give it time and don't give up.
So good.
Yeah. And so, speaking of not giving up and holding your vision, is my final free circle that I'm doing in like half an hour from now. So
nice.
Yes, I will post the link below if anybody wants like last minute signups, or actually it's probably best just to PM me and I can give you the link. It's gonna be a nice little intimate group today, but we're gonna kind of have these conversations about the energy and things like that. So happy Friday.
Love it. Happy Friday.
Get ready for my circle. And this will be on YouTube. I'll post it up later. Okay. Deborah, have a fabulous day. Big love.
You too. Such a pleasure. I love going live with you.
Yeah, same. Let's do it again. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a fabulous day.
Bye.
Bye.